Hi folks, and welcome to the on-demand version of the secrets to really high performance in Google Shopping. My name is Nick Rajpal. I'm the VP of Client Services here at Exclusive Concepts. Now, if you signed up and you clicked that little box when you signed up to watch this webinar, you said, help me with an audit for Google Shopping. I'm the one who's going to help conduct that for your website. If you're watching these case studies as we go through this presentation and you say, clearly, I'm not doing what these people are doing, or my agency is definitely not doing what these people are doing, contact us at sales@exclusiveconcepts.com and say, guys, I need help. I'm investing in Google Shopping the wrong way. And we're going to do a proprietary analysis of what you're doing well, what you're doing wrong, and where there's some new opportunity. I think it'll change things for you dramatically. So once again, sales@exclusiveconcepts.com. Say anything, but mention the word audit or analysis. That'll help us quite a bit. And I want to give a shout out to Mr. Logan, Durant, who's co-presenting with me here, who helped develop this technology that allows us to do a complete analysis of your Google Shopping. Logan is our Director of Google Shopping and CSE. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Nick. Very excited to be here, sharing the secrets of the methodology that we've been creating for the last couple of years.
Awesome, and there's this image over here. This image ties back to a personal story of yours that has kind of become your exclusive concept story. Can you tell us?
Yeah, so in this strip mall right here used to exist my father's stereo store that he owned in the 1970s in Bangor, Maine. And learning about this store, first of all, it gave me the passion for music that both he and I share. But I think it also made me interested in entrepreneurship, and also gave me a unique perspective on the different struggles and challenges and opportunities that small business owners have.
Awesome, thank you, Logan. Well, who are we at Exclusive Concepts? The company that Logan and I get to come to every day. We were established in '97. We've been hunting 5,000 every year since 2008. And a lot of it is just purely because our clients stay on board. We've done a very good job of making sure we listen to our clients, understand their business models, and put them in services and apply certain sciences to their business that actually fit their model so they can make a profit. And because that makes them money, they stay, and as they stay, we grow. We have 6 such channels: pay-per-click, marketplace, like we're talking about today, including Google Shopping, SEO, conversion rate optimization, that's the CRO over there, email, and strategy. We have over 200 clients. We focus on just delivering the best performance possible for clients, and we redefined performance as being synonymous with profit. Profit really is performance. If we can increase your profit, that's the type of performance that we should care about. Nothing else is really worth celebrating. And we're full service, obviously, with all these different services. We work closely together on our client accounts. We have over 100 employees. We're headquartered right outside of Boston in Burlington, Massachusetts. So if we had to summarize what this webinar is all about in like 10 to 40 seconds, it would be from 2013 to 2014, we kept telling people a single PLA campaign is too much of a one-size-fits-all type of approach. And they got that. So a lot of people switched over so that we could do more customized strategy. But the few things that we were talking about that we said, these are the new norms, these are the new standards beyond one size fits all. Even those have become kind of one size fits all at this point. And we need to start thinking about customization, what unique techniques are being brought to the industry. So we're going to talk about our unique techniques, and overall redefining performance as profit. Those are the 3 things: customization, focusing on unique techniques, and redefining performance as profit. So how can we really jump into these 3 concepts: customization, core techniques, and profit? We thought the best way was to take 5 of our clients, totally anonymize them, and talk about what we've done for their Google Shopping. And you'll see that we internalize business model challenges and opportunities and evolution of what Google has done with their Google Shopping platform to do something that would make the most impact in sometimes the shortest period of time and sometimes over a long period of time. So we're going to cover 5 such stores. We're going to start with a modern furniture store. All right, so this online retailer focuses on high-end modern furniture. They only have an online store. It's pure retail. They've been online for a while now, 10 years. And they have, let's say, around 10,000 products. So before joining, they had that thing we used to warn about in 2013 and 2014. They had one all products campaign with a low bid. Basically, they couldn't distinguish what they were investing in from one product to another, one category to another, one geo to another. It was all, for all my products, I'm willing to pay 30 cents cost per click, for example. So the first thing we typically do is work on structure, right, Logan?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, anytime someone comes to us with an all products campaign, the first thing we focus on is segmentation. And typical segmentation that works for a lot of stores, not all of them, is to have campaigns segmented by brand and product type. This gives us a really nice intersection to be able to control bids. It also gives us at-a-glance performance at different categories and brands within that category. So, really, it's all about the basics. Sometimes if you just have an all products campaign, that really shouldn't happen anymore. You should at least have that basic segmentation of product types and or brands.
Yep, so a lot of the things we talked about in 2013 and 2014, they haven't gone away. They're still the basics, but it's probably a good place for us to start like that. Now we can get into more customization, but this is, again, another basic. Just focusing on making sure that we are pouring into the search query reports what queries are bringing visitors to the website. When are they typing in terms over and over again, and they are proving that that term is a disqualifying term, that they're interested in something that we don't actually sell, but Google mistakenly thinks we do, so they're still showing the ad. That's partially how you have to control quality when it comes to Google Shopping, but you have to look for those trends as well. It's not just one-off keywords.
Yeah, exactly. So this really is about two different buckets. One are purely irrelevant queries. Like you said, Google's trying to make the match. It's not quite the right query for the product. But then you have to look at those trends over time for the queries that do relate to the products and see how well they convert over time. Are they converting at a good enough rate based on what you're paying? And are they giving you the return that you need?
Awesome. And this is maybe not the daily work because you have to wait for data to collect, but it should be top of mind every day, that this is the type of thing that we need to be focusing on. I will rotate from one client to another throughout the day, but at least once a week we have to get in there for a client and look for new trends of evolving terms that are popping up, because it is a big part of what we do, but it's still not the biggest. For this store, we did a lot of deep internalization about what kind of persona do we want to target. So in the world of consumer behavior, there's these 4 theoretical personas. You got methodical, that's like you're selling something that's unemotional, you just want it to be lowest price and easy to buy. There's nothing that's going to create an emotion no matter what you do. Spontaneous is about trying to get some rise out of a person to make them believe that if they act now, they're going to get a deal. And a lot of businesses do that. There's social, if people have a lot of questions, and you help them with their learning curve challenges. Competitive, if you want people to feel extra special because they bought from your site. Now with this website, we determined that there's a unique challenge that selling high-end furniture has a long sales cycle. So to try to use a persona like spontaneous to incite people to buy quicker actually was not just creating a competitive brand positioning, it was actually overcoming a major challenge to the business. So we focused on more flash sales and trying to get people to buy very quickly. Now when we did this webinar live, we had all the people in the audience think deeply about what their persona is that they try to target for their business. And we've highlighted methodical here because it squeaked by as being the most the one that most people voted for, which I thought was interesting. And in the online world, that type of sterility doesn't always work. So it's the type of thing you may want to think about. You can add a lot of momentum through spontaneous and social, But competitive is a reach for a lot of people, and methodical sometimes doesn't add enough to momentum. Anything that you noticed on that side, Logan, that you thought was compelling to think about?
Yeah, I mean, this particular site, I think it's, they did have that issue with the long buying cycle, and, the flash sales and targeting the spontaneous shopper did help. But I think they could also start to cross into the competitive persona a little bit with some of these more higher end aspirational pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people will try to do things like have tons of reviews or really strong face-to-face customer support integrated into their website if they're selling high-end stuff like this. So they could also lean on social, but spontaneous just moves volume really well.
Exactly. And we can talk about the different techniques that we use from a Google Shopping perspective to help kind of usher in that spontaneous buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. But it really does come down to strategy. You can't just say my business has a strategy, but it's not permeating my marketing approach. If we work with a client and we have developed a strategy for them, that becomes pervasive to their SEO, Google Shopping, PPC, all the conversion testing and messaging, their email marketing. It has to be one cohesive message around that strategy, and that really does move the needle significantly. In many cases, it takes what your investments are already and allows them to perform at such a high rate that your cost efficiency skyrockets. Purgatory. Amazing concept developed by your team. Let's talk about that for this case.
Yeah, so we were talking about search queries before, and eliminating the irrelevant ones are easy, right? You just comb through the report, you find them, and you get them out. But sometimes you might have the opposite problem where a keyword is very relevant to what you sell, but maybe it's a little too general to have a high conversion rate. So if you want something like modern white sofa, something like that, or something that drives a lot of volume but doesn't convert a lot, people often end up paying too much for those queries, and they have to exclude them because the bids are just too high. But what we've done is created a special type of campaign for products that have a lot of volume, but maybe a little bit lower conversion rate than the merchants can generally afford. So we take these products, we put them in a special campaign with a lower bid, so we still let those queries come in, but we're paying less for them. So the idea is to take queries that have a lot of volume and make them profitable where they otherwise would not have been before.
And you'll see throughout this presentation, we do this for queries, as Logan mentioned, and IDs, particular products, as Logan mentioned as well. In this case, I think this was a focus on the highest volume products specifically, right?
Yep.
That we just couldn't turn a profit on. And as we've shared this with people that have accounts that we don't manage, they're managed by competitors, for example, they'll say, that's the aha moment, guys, because I have all these products that my agency says, yeah, they may be popular, but they're not profitable, so we can't do anything with them. We're going to have to turn them off. When the business owner knows that is not the attitude that's going to lead to more profit. This was interesting because when we set up the account to be focused on this cross-section of brand and product type, which is pretty standard for us to test it out, we often find that we should lean towards product type only or lean towards brand only. In this case, we found that the site did not have a brand-centric feel to it. The user experience, the navigation, was not conducive to people typing in a brand, coming to the site, and then being able to engage at that brand level. And strategically, the site did not want to continue or to change their approach to be brand-centric. So we were able to strip out visibility for those brand queries and streamline towards one half of the equation, which is product type. And that always, this is something that we know from the get-go. Just because we set up something infrastructurally does not mean we're going to stick with it. Everything is a test. Everything we do has to prove itself. No matter how good the idea, no matter how confident we are, our job is to try something, test it. If it wins, we keep it, we invest more in it. If it loses, we cut it. When we talk about the flux approach, if you've watched any of our webinars around the flux approach, where we build new sections of of a paid search account and then trim out the inefficiency. That's testing. At the end of the day, that is the definition of testing. Create something, see what works in it, reinvest where it works, divest where it doesn't work, create something new. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of something new, here we have something that we find very valuable on the Google Shopping team here at Exclusive. It's an all-mobile campaign, or what we shorten to an AMC. So we all know that mobile traffic is increasing for websites every month, every year. It's just, that scale has already been tipped. I feel for a lot of sites, they're getting a lot more mobile traffic than even desktop or laptop traffic at this point. So there needs to be a way to better capitalize on this traffic. We know that mobile has inherently lower conversion rates. It is inherently filled with more people browsing. So the more control you have over these visitors and the more you can curate your campaigns around them, the more successful you'll be. So while this functionality is not native to Google's, their campaigns,
their interface
right now, interface, we've kind of found a workaround to create all mobile campaigns within Google Shopping by tweaking the priority settings as well as the mobile bid multipliers, so we can actually completely separate the traffic, not just have the control of the bid at the campaign level, but suddenly we have the control on each granular product group level, which is highly important. And we can see mobile-specific search queries, which is kind of a first for most people. So the big takeaway is that for us, these have been emerging as big winners. It's suddenly given us control over mobile traffic, and discovering it through different priority settings and bid multipliers has allowed us to kind of work around the AdWords, the constrictions of those interfaces.
Yeah, I have to echo here. One of the main reasons we have to separate this out, we can't just treat the campaigns as the same, is because if you're just sliding your bid multipliers and you're not creating separate cases, you're not understanding the fact that mobile is distinctly different from PC in many cases. They're not clones of each other. They're not echoes of each other. 25% of Americans only access the internet through mobile. So what is different between the three are three things: the users, the use cases, and the user experience. That's users, the use cases, and user experience. And you can control the user experience. You can learn about the users. But what our study, when we're setting up these AMC campaigns, is trying to understand the use case of those unique users as they use that unique user experience. What kind of performance comes out of doing this much introspective management within a short period of time? These are the numbers from October to January for this client. You can see our nominal fees in there. Those are our actual fees. How much they spent, a few $1,000s. How much they made, edging on six-figure, starting at less than $20,000 a few months earlier. And the profit that is generated at a 30% margin, going from less than $5,000 to almost $25,000 in 4 months. Very nice job to Logan and his team. All right, and we now introduce a maternity clothing store. This store was also online for about 10 years. They once relied on SEO for a long period of time, and then they lost control with the SEO side, Panda, Penguin. We all understand what that means. And they've also been brick and mortar for nearly 10 years. Before joining, they had invested in Google Shopping, but they had limited segmentation, right? So the infrastructure of the campaigns, limited keyword optimization, so it didn't do a lot of negative keywords, and they were actually limiting the number of products that would be marketed each season based on the fit between the season and the product. So what do we do first here, Logan?
So I think this is a little bit what we were touching on earlier, is that certain queries may be highly relevant to your business. In this case, maternity dresses, for example, was very highly relevant to this client's business, and they were having these keywords being triggered in high bid campaigns. So they were paying way too much And the term, although it was relevant, did not convert at a high enough rate. So what we did was we set those terms as negatives in the higher CPC campaigns and had them filtered into some of the lower CPC campaigns that we had set up targeting the same products. So they're triggering the same searches, but at a lower bid.
Yeah, and a lot of, well, we've discussed this. It's interesting how this intercepts with our values. One of our values at our company, we have 5 very distinct values, and one of them is seek the positive. When we ask ourselves when we're managing an account, are we truly seeking the positive? If we just get a keyword and say it's not working, we're done. If we gave up on things like that in our business or our client's business, we wouldn't go anywhere. So for us, when we see that a keyword is not working, our question is, how are we going to make it work? And relegating a keyword to a different tier of cost per click and finding that the economics actually work out, that's brilliant. That's awesome. That says to our clients that we're not going to give up on anything.
Yeah, and so likewise, sometimes you find that you're too restrictive with the negative keywords. So, trends change, things change, behaviors change among people. Sometimes terms that you exclude that converted poorly during one part of the year might convert much better at a different part of the year. So what we do is we have campaigns that are specifically designed to pick up on these terms, to catch them, to see if things start to turn around for them. And if we do see these patterns with terms that were once excluded but now convert well, we can release them and then try them out in a lower bid CPC campaign. So just to your point, Nick, it's not about giving up completely on words that we add as negatives, but always giving them the chance to reprove themselves.
Yeah, and we understand that Google Shopping has been in its nascency in the past few years. And sometimes we inherit an account that was managed maybe overzealously because there was such limited functionality when someone took over the account when Google Shopping just turned to paid. So a lot of those decisions may no longer be functional. So it's a great way for us to say maybe there's 60% of the search queries out there that we have basically turned off. We could potentially make 60% of your market opportunity work if we do a good job of carefully re-releasing some of those keywords into low bid. So it can be a big deal, especially if there was, like we said before, overzealous negative query optimization.
And so for this particular store, what we did was we added the formerly excluded products on Google Shopping that they had taken out because they thought that the seasonality was wrong for the products. So, not completely understanding the push versus pull marketing. We are pulling people into the store based on their demand, and if they do want a spring maternity dress in the dead of winter, then we're happy to sell it to them. So I think what people have to remember is that no matter what your presumptions are about what might sell and what might not, you always have to be testing those presumptions and challenging them.
And keep in mind, it's not winter everywhere.
It's true.
Makes a big difference. But you notice in that last slide, we also use the term purgatory. Anytime we're taking products that really need a close eye on them because we know there are question marks surrounding the future performance, we put them into something that we call purgatory. And that is, it's a reminder for us. When we talk about creating the right data, we say that data should be accessible, it should be auditable, meaning it's actually accurate, and it should be actionable. So when you're trying to make sure that this type of campaign is accessible in a short period of time, or almost making itself more prominent than others, separating it as a different campaign, knowing and teaching yourself that, well, when you see the term purgatory, that's where you're supposed to check. This type of rhythm and process and infrastructure helps us accomplish a lot of things for clients that otherwise, if it was just an effort that you forgot about in 20 days, it wouldn't do anything.
So, again, we kind of touched on this just a moment ago, talking about the geo and mobile trends. the seasonality of different product categories. Obviously, a maternity dress may sell in Florida year-round, where in the Northeast it doesn't. So you have to carefully monitor what you're doing in terms of the geographic bids. And the same goes with mobile trends. Mobile trends are changing constantly. The way people interact and buy on a mobile device is ever evolving at this point. So you want to keep careful track of the performance coming in both in the geo and mobile level. Analyze it once a week if you can, just to really keep your hand on the pulse of it and make sure you're tweaking those multipliers.
Yeah, and when we talk about releasing non-seasonal items back in for a business like this, making sure we track those geo trends is incredibly important, because we do have different sets of seasons. We have areas of the country that have seasons and areas of the country that don't have seasons. So geo becomes incredibly important, and mobile trends are different in terms of what products sell, etc. So we asked people in the on-demand or the live version, when was the last time you had your geo or mobile dimensions analyzed and acted upon? And while there were some close seconds, by far the most popular answer was never, and we appreciate that honesty. But this is the type of thing, once again, we call it daily work because it's always top of mind. It's something that you come in every day knowing that you're going to have to do a little bit of this for at least a handful of clients. You can't forget about this. This is the type of analysis that reveals huge discrepancies in efficiency between one geo to another, or especially one device to another, and making your bid adjustments according to that. Those dimensions is probably in many ways more important than some of the other dimensions. In some ways, it can be.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree, especially if your sales are changing a lot with the seasonality. Sometimes you might find that you have to increase the bids in the southern states, the warmer states, but then when those types of products maybe are, people can find them in stores more readily availably, then they're not looking online as much, and you need to lower those bids, lower those modifiers. So it's something that you can't just set it and forget it.
Awesome. Well, this client has a unique journey, and they're still growing slowly. But between January 13 and January 14, they started to attend our webinars and started to implement some of the things that we talked about. And I believe Logan was on every one of those webinars, the Google Shopping ones. I know that they implemented a lot of changes based on what we suggested. And then they became an exclusive concepts client closer to right before this next snapshot came out. But a lot of movement for this client, and it's important to note, well, a lot of our clients don't spend that much. They're still in the early stages of their business. We're trying to help them invest in one solid leg to stand on, knowing that they could choose any channel right now. Often, very often, the strongest leg that they can stand on to create positive cash flow and control for their business is Google Shopping first. So that's why you will see, we will see a lot of our smaller clients start with Google Shopping, and as they mature on their cash cycle, we help them invest in PPC, text ads, then SEO, then email marketing for more loyalty, and then when their traffic gets larger, we do conversion testing. There's this entire life cycle, and the reason our clients can stay for a decade or longer is because we cater to every part of that life cycle. It's very exciting. It's something that we become very passionate and intimate with. All right. Beer brewing store. Online almost 20 years with over 3,000 products. Before they joined, they were triple counting conversions. So they thought when they looked at their aggregate data, their cost per acquisition, whatever it was actually 1/3 of what it was. So if their cost per acquisition said it's $10, it was actually $30. And if they thought $10 was okay, $30 would make them cry. So this is a big deal. And a lot of people do not have their conversion tracking set up properly. We asked those people in the audience, are you certain that your conversion and revenue tracking is set up correctly? The most popular answer was yes, and Logan and I pushed back and said, you're probably wrong. Because still to date, I probably look at least 5 new accounts per week. That's minimum. 5 new accounts per week. And those accounts are not set up properly. I don't care who your agency is, how flashy they are, how well known they are, they're probably doing it wrong. And it's really sad because you can't make any good decisions when your conversion revenue tracking is not set up properly. So I don't understand why more agencies don't make this a fundamental first step in their approach, but for us, it is absolutely the first thing that we do. Make it count. It's common for us to notice an account is counting revenue or conversions too many times, either triple counting conversions or double counting revenue because they have analytics and AdWords counting at the same time, or they're tracking their revenue value as 1 per conversion. It's a mess. I invite you to sit down with me for an hour and a half to let me look at your conversion tracking. That will take me about 30 seconds, that part, and the rest of the time is to look into the other stuff that's probably going wrong if that's not set up properly. But once again, this is probably a good midpoint to remind people. If we're talking about things that clearly you're not getting done for your business, and you know that on our end, it doesn't matter how big of a client or how small of a client you are, we will still do a customized approach that will help move the needle. Talk to us. sales@exclusiveconcepts.com. Say, I need help with Google Shopping. Subject line, am I doing it wrong? Beer Brewing Store had a big challenge.
Yeah, so I think, with these guys, they had a big challenge with Google's policies. And Google is really cracking down on the product policies with Google Shopping. So a lot of clients who sell supplements or something that can be construed as a weapon, they're having a difficult time. But also clients who sell alcohol-related products, like this client, basically a lot of their top sellers, they couldn't sell them anymore. So we had to get creative and work around it. We had to take what products in their catalog we could sell and make them more of a focal point, and really, get creative with how we were adjusting the bids and the search queries that were coming in. So we couldn't sell the top sellers, but we had to, build these new campaigns and really try to work hard to turn around the performance in Google Shopping to, get them profitable.
Yeah, and this is the type of thing that it feels like a punch in the gut, but you create your business to have more resilience in this. And you know that there are going to be these restrictions or regulations that you can't always just overcome or find a way directly around. Sometimes you just need to accept them. So working with the client, working closely with Google to understand how their limitations have actually been laid out, it helped us craft a strategy that didn't need to rely on that. And this is not the first client that we've had to do that for. We've had clients where we were successfully managing their accounts and then we were given fair warning by Google that we have a month or so before their top products are no longer going to be advertisable in Google Shopping. And we prepared for it and even looked for other channels to diversify, but we helped the client. And one of the cases that I'm thinking about, just being challenged that way allowed us to create more momentum than we would have had we not been challenged that way, because it forced us to look at other channels. You know what you want to talk about?
I do, yeah.
Okay, good. Without revealing who that is.
Right. Yeah, so one of the big things we had to do, to get more creative was to add more details to their feed. So they, didn't have great categorization with their brands and product types. So, we made it a point to make sure the data quality in the feed was A+. We also added the Google product category in to help Google better forge the relationship between the search query and the products.
Yep, and these are the basics. I mean, going from a one all products campaign, which is what they had, to trying to create an infrastructure. You can't create the infrastructure unless you have the data. So as we started the presentation with a client where we immediately jumped in and did brand and product type, that's because the data was available. If the data is not available, that becomes our first step, and that's a very early step towards so much momentum.
Yep. And you see here again, we do that segmentation that we had talked about last time, where we have the brand campaigns segmented by product type. We're using the new information that we added to the feed to really get that infrastructure in place for high performance.
And keep in mind, this structure is not just to have a nice organized filing cabinet. It's so that we can actually glean which cross sections of product type and brand are worth spending more time on. You are paying for time, and you want to make sure that a company, or a person who's managing your account is very cognizant of where they should prioritize their time. So by creating a structure that tells us right off the bat which cross sections of product type and brand are worth digging into deeper, granularizing, and perfecting, that's one of the most amazing first steps you can do, and that's why we set it up that way.
Absolutely. So here, another technique that we talked about before, general queries that are relevant to the client's product catalog but don't convert at a high rate. Something like beer brewing kits are very, very general, very highly trafficked, but kind of tough to convert people on the first time around. So what we do is we set the negatives in our high CPC campaigns so they would show up in the lower ones. Again, we want to seek the positive. We don't want to relegate these queries as negatives. We want to give them a chance, just at a lower bid.
Awesome. Yep. Once again, just reminding people that you don't need to give up. But as you start to look at your account, it is not chiseling out the account like an ice sculpture. It's carving or sculpting, or what do you call molding the account as if it's clay. You're not trying to get rid of parts. You're trying to find where those parts can be better suited. So, next step, RLSHA.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite new features that Google has released, remarketing lists for shopping ads. So what these ads allow you to do is essentially identify an audience of past visitors to the site, and when they go back to the Google search page to look for the products that you may be selling, you can bid higher on the bid, or you can bid higher on the product or the campaign to show these ads to the people who are much higher value than someone who had maybe never been to the site before. So this particular client has a long purchasing cycle. People are doing research, they're trying to figure out which beer brewing parts they need. It's a long process. So we are using remarketing lists for shopping ads to identify the people who have been to the site before as a much higher value person. When they go back to the Google search results page, that decision point where they're trying to figure out who they're going to buy the products from, we want to make sure that our ads are front and center on that page. And with this function, we can tell Google that we're willing to pay much more to get them back to the site to convert.
Yeah, it's almost like saying that new visitors are unqualified prospects. People who have been to the site before are qualified prospects. And you can even create an audience of past actual buyers. So they can be extremely qualified or current buyers. And as they buy the next part, they search for it, or they try to buy a more expensive part that they've already bought a cheaper version of. Staying in front of them can be incredibly profitable. And the good thing is with these audiences, you can create what we call a forever net. You can actually create a system of tracking these people and what they've been able to, when they're going to trigger your ad for up to 540 days from their last visit to your site. So it's not just about a long sales cycle. In many cases, it's about lifetime value.
Yeah, absolutely. Killing two birds with one stone, that feature.
We asked people, have you already started doing RLSHA? And the vast majority of people said no. Second most popular was, I don't know. So once again, RLSHA, they're just regular looking Google shopping ads, but targeted to your past visitors. We tried this on a lot of clients, and it's worked 100% of the time. That's not the type of thing that you get to see all the time, where a technique was such a good idea that Google pushed out that everyone should be doing it. But the evolution of features in AdWords has played towards that type of story for a long time. Whether on the text ad side, you've got your site links, You got your review extensions, call out extensions people are totally underutilizing, or different languages they're not utilizing. On the remarketing side, they're underutilizing dynamic remarketing. These basic core settings that exist in Google are not even being utilized, when a lot of them may not be 100% positive for every client, but still 90% of people find a positive impact from them. It's a great way to improve performance and cut costs. Flexible CPA.
Yeah, so for this particular client, they have a wide variety of products, and we wanted to set up the campaigns in a way where we were monitoring the cost per acquisition by how expensive the product was and how much margin they're getting on each product. Is it a multi-$1,000 beer brewing kit, or is it a $5 piece of hose? That's the stuff that's really important when we're focusing on profitability, which has become the new norm for our agency, and we need to be able to set bids based on that profitability to maximize a client's investment.
It all comes down to profit for us. That's why we manage our clients towards a metric that we call cash impact. How much did we impact your bank account this month? It's not a bad way of looking at things. It's a lot better than cost per acquisition or ROI or ROAS. It is purely how much profit did we make you in a month. And that takes margin calculations to achieve, and it takes actions based on those margin calculations to be able to achieve. So this client, January, February of 2014 versus January, February of 2015, is basically 2x profit. That's before us and after us. And that ain't bad. That's an extra $250,000 in profit per year that we are projected towards, just by allowing us to do something that's more custom while not even being able to sell their top sellers. We asked people, how are you doing Google Shopping right now? I was super surprised by this. The vast majority said in-house. I think that's the wrong decision. It takes a lot of experience with other accounts and failures and working closely with Google as an agency the way that Google allows you to. They do not do that for regular investors. All of that edge that you get is given to agencies.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about the remarketing lists for shopping ads, and that's something that has just come out of beta. We've been running it for most of our clients for 6 months now, and we've already completely honed that tactic and built out multiple audiences. It's something that I think people probably don't even know is a feature in their campaigns today.
Yeah, and a lot of these features, it's like the efficiency of markets concept in finance, where the less people know about something, the more profit you can make from it. And luckily, agencies get betas, they get alphas, and they get pre-alphas. So we get to invest in those 1,000-to-1 investments. And then when it becomes marketplace, then it's down to a 10-to-1 ratio. So even if it's just for a few months where no one else has that edge is very profitable. Let's switch to an electric supply store. Been in business for not too bad, 35 years. Online nearly 15. Very knowledgeable people. Family-owned business and tons of products, over 100,000 products. One of the first things we did was we took over the account, went into the webmaster tools, looked at the diagnostics tool, and said, oh, 40% of the products are not approved. Let's look through all of the diagnostics tool. If you've ever used it before, there are so many reasons why you can get a feed error, and to tackle all of them is quite an arduous task. But it was definitely the right first step.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the amazing thing to me is, how many of our clients will have a third-party feed provider doing their feed, and the provider doesn't care how many of the products are approved. They'll pull the product info and they'll send the feed, and that's kind of where it stops. And oftentimes we are playing troubleshooting, getting into the account and figuring out how to get their feed up to snuff when the clients would have never realized that otherwise.
And what a competitive advantage, because it's likely that a lot of competitors are getting flagged for the same exact product. If you're the first one to make it to market that has got approval, That's huge. But more importantly, we've been talking throughout the year about the power of economics. Clients that have followed a formula, a very simple formula, mentally write this down, if not write this down on a notepad. Choose a very clear target. That's step one. Step two, have all the products that cater to that target. Make sure no one in that target come to your website and be alienated based on their income level or what they were looking for or their preferences when it comes to style. If you don't have a product that caters to them, then redefine your target audience as being more specific. But if your target audience is broad, then make sure you have the largest selection possible for that target audience. Then the third step is spend like crazy, because you no longer have to live in the long tail where you have to be super specific about a product because you have all the products for a general category. Now you can thrive in the long tail, kill it in the mid tail, and even bring in general queries, because you know someone who types in a query indicative of that target audience is going to find what they want on the website one way or another. You don't have to worry about high bounce rate, low add to cart rate, cart abandonment, or ostracizing parts of your target. That is how you conquer a target. Choose it clearly, have all the selection you need, and then spend from long tail all the way to general, and then you own it. Power of economics.
So for this electrical supplies store, we did the first step. Again, the basics, that all products campaign. When you have 100,000 products, this is a good place to start to at least get a presence in Google Shopping. Then, we talked about this before, we're doing the segmentation that works for many clients, segmented by brand, then by product type, to get granular performance and to also have granular control over the bids. We also took a look at the best sellers and applied them into the segments by brand and by product type.
Yeah, no, that was a great thing to do when we have 100,000 products, to just choose the best sellers and put them into this structure and keep the rest in the all products campaign. It plays to the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, where basically if we know that 20% of the products are going to produce 80% of the revenue, then it should definitely take up 80% of our effort. So by creating this, now we have two tiers for this client. One tier focused on segmentation, cross segments of product type and brand, and a lower tier for essentially all products at a lower bid. And we get even crazier later.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good stuff.
Definitely. So here again we have the basics, the 101, the search query optimization. We're talking about for particular clients, sometimes search queries have different lenses that people look through. So in this case, it actually made sense for us to make wholesale queries negative. Something that people are looking for maybe at a really cheap or discounted price. We didn't want those queries in this particular account because over time we saw that they started to perform negatively. So, I'll let Nick have the takeaway here.
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's this is it. Big markets could be saturated, and we have to take a slightly different approach for them. So in this case, we cut the industry in half. We're not going to go after wholesale. That was a smart decision because we knew that that's what the business from end to end, the business was optimized for non-wholesale. Exactly. And when you have that many products, you're going to have a slew of search queries, just so many different types of queries triggering the product. So you have to spend a lot of time in that search query report to make the account profitable. Awesome. So again, this is another basic. We want to make the top sellers soar. We want to capitalize on these products. These are the products that a client has positioned particularly well. They're priced well. They're products that have a high demand and they convert well on the site, and they're the ones that we want to be spending the most time on optimizing, tweaking bids, tweaking search queries. So the best sellers, we remember, were segmented within the brand and product type campaigns, and so we put the special focus on those top sellers within those campaigns, and we know that we can spend a little bit less time on the things that don't require that type of really close attention. So semantics here, like the 20% that are the best sellers we call best sellers, the 1% that are the top sellers are top sellers. And they basically are two separate tiers, even though they're very similar in nature. We asked people, do you have a top seller strategy? And most people said yes, but it's not great. top sellers, if you have statistically validated top sellers, you can win predictably, and that's the best part about it. In financial markets, when you have something that is winning, you invest in it too late and it starts losing. That's because information's public. But with your own information that is private, there's no reversing of trend. And that is again, if you study the efficiencies of markets, this is a known concept. That's why micro investments versus mass market investments are so incredibly different. As soon as they hit the news cycle, they go from a positive investment to a negative investment because the efficiency has been exploited. But your data is internal private data. It never hits a news cycle. So if it is working well, you can invest in it all day long. If you know something's working really well, continue with it while heeding back to Logan's advice, being cognizant of changing trends. All right, so even more tiers.
Yeah, just tiers on tiers right here. So with a store like this, they have so many products. It's very important to have a catch-all campaign. So while we do focus a lot of time on those top sellers and on the brand and product type segments, there are certain non-strategic products that maybe don't make it into one of these campaigns, or maybe products that the client will add periodically that isn't a high priority product, but a nice complement to other products in the catalog. So what we do with non-strategic products is we have them put into a catch-all campaign with a very low bid, with no negative keywords. We kind of just let them run. And this is an extremely low bid. The spend is minimal, but it's to kind of capture those different, those trends in the marketplace, the different behaviors of consumers, by season or by location. For this particular client, we spent $193 over a few months, and we made almost $15,000 from this type of campaign. So it's amazing what you can do when you give all of your products the chance to thrive, not just exclude them.
Yeah, and keep in mind now we're talking about this account now has a top sellers tier that is a component of a bestseller segmentation. Below it is an all products campaign. And there are negative keywords applied to all of those tiers, and negative geo targets, negative products, or some exclusions. And instead of allowing all of those negative decisions to be cut out, we create the most efficient part of the campaign, which is basically we say no to these things, but if it was at a penny or a nickel per click, then we're going to try it out. We're going to try it again. And that's where this lowest all products campaign. So it's basically 4 tiers. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But that now shows the emerging science of Google Shopping, where you are using different click tiers to trigger different products, different geo, different keywords, and make them more profitable. It's awesome. But never give up. Allow search queries that fail on one tier to succeed in another. If you're not doing this, if you got an all products campaign, for example, it's just the biggest mistake you could possibly have. If you only have 2 tiers, you probably still have room to have a tier above, which would be top sellers, and a tier even further below, which is a catch-all for all the decisions you've said no to.
Yeah, and to all those tiers, layer on top of it, remarketing lists for shopping ads at every level, where we're targeting past buyers, where we're targeting people who have abandoned the shopping cart, we're targeting product page viewers, category page viewers, and the bids are different on each campaign because of the campaign's inherent bid and negative keyword structure.
It's awesome. So if the glove fits, if repeat buyers is a strong possibility, remarketing till produce.
Will produce grapes.
Will? Still produces?
Still produces.
Till produces, though, for sure. So if I don't think this is the first time I actually read the screen. This is tough. Yeah, so you have to know whether or not you have one of 2 things. So we talked about this before. Either a long sales cycle or a long lifetime value. And your RLSHA is definitely going to help towards both of those, if done right. More purgatories.
Yeah, and again, this is another, talk about another tier, the purgatory tier for the high volume, low converting SKUs. We treat this differently than the all products low bid campaign because in purgatory we do have negatives. So, this is every campaign has its different unique makeup of the negative keywords, of the bid structure, the remarketing list for shopping ad structure.
So to give people an idea, is this what they would see in this account? They would see campaigns for Purgatory, campaigns by brand and product type, all separate, a campaign for all products, and a lowest bid all products campaign.
That's what they would see, and then once you click into those campaigns, that's just the surface. You open up the hood, and then you have all of your product group bids, you have the negative keywords, the different geo multipliers, and the remarketing list for shopping ad audiences that you're all bidding differently on.
With a different strategic technique around the Purgatories and the top, and the best, and the regulars, and the lowest. That's great. New techniques. Things like Purgatory. When we come up with them, we try them on a few clients, then a few more get it, then before we know, all of our clients get it, and we move quick. And as long as you do move quick, and you keep an R&D wing like we do, you're going to be able to outcompete your competitors because they're just sitting there or just making ID level bids.
Yeah, so with these guys, like many other stores, it's all about standing out, focusing on brands with low exposure that other people might not be focusing on in the marketplace to kind of create their unique niche in Google Shopping. You have that many products, there's bound to be some brands that you have a particularly good position in the marketplace to sell. And when you don't have all the segmentations that we were just talking about, it's very hard to identify those opportunities, those brands. God forbid, especially if you have just an all products campaign, you'll never succeed with a catalog this big.
Absolutely. And that type of competitive research is amazing. We ask people, do you analyze and act upon this type of competitive data and insight? It was a resounding no. Research. It's a good concept. Identifying brands and IDs that fit a perfect criteria and acting on that info. Knowing that we were going to go into a project to identify brands and products that had a competitive gap in the marketplace. It's such a thoughtful way of approaching achieving higher or cost efficiency. Like if we really want to drive more cost efficiency for clients, coming up with an idea like competitive gaps is a great concept. And then figuring out how to do it in a replicable way that we do for other clients as well makes it stronger for everyone.
Exactly. We have this technique down. We have what we call a low visibility brands analysis, where we can plug a feed and into a spreadsheet that we have with formulas and data points and analyses that we can do to instantly identify these brands and put emphasis on them and figure out the gaps.
I can hear people typing in sales@exclusiveconcepts.com in the subject line. Please forward this to Logan. The webinar was great, and I want you guys to help me with Google Shopping.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll help you guys out. Anything you need.
Sounds good. All right, promos.
Yeah, so again, I think this is something that people overlook with Google Shopping campaigns. We talk about using different functionality. You do have one line of promo text with these campaigns, and it's good to use it. People, when they mouse over your ads, if they don't see anything, that's a piece of lost real estate that you could have potentially thrown an offer out, like free shipping in this case. When we put it into the ads for this client, we increase conversion rates by 15%.
Okay. And you can do this in Google Shopping right now. Keep in mind, you could have potentially put the same thing, free shipping, in a text ad, and Google would say, now you look more like all the other ads. You're more ubiquitous, so your quality score drops, your position drops, your cost per click goes up, your click-through rate goes down. All bad things. So keep in mind how how important it is to track the impact of using something like free shipping. We did discover that using that increased conversion rates 15%. It's because we monitored it that we could actually stick with it. But keep in mind how important it is to do that, because free shipping can often reduce your profitability. But value props are incredibly important, underutilized in Google Shopping. So right now it does help you stand out, while maybe in text ads it makes you look like everyone else. Not bad performance for this client. This is just looking quarter over quarter. By Q1 2014 to Q1 2015, profit had increased from about 21,000 to 94,000. That's his profit, keep in mind. And at that rate, that's a new Ferrari, like what, every 3 months?
Yeah, right around there. I mean, yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Garage door opener store, and then we close this out. Brick and mortar and online, over 2,000 products. Clients are very busy because they work the floor as well, but very passionate and knowledgeable.
Yeah, this is a client that I personally manage. They again, like Nick said, they're on the floor. They're very busy. They need us to be the experts with their digital marketing, and their Google Shopping included in that. So with them, we start with the basics. Standard number 1, segmenting campaigns by brand, by product type, and bid based on performance. Standard number 2, we have the search query optimization, where we're getting out the low revenue to cost ratio keywords and the unqualified traffic. Standard 3, talked about the top seller campaigns, make those top sellers soar by giving them higher bids and segmenting them out within the brand and product type campaigns. Number 4, create the purgatory campaign for those highly trafficked SKUs that don't have the best conversion rate, but you still want to capitalize on that traffic at a lower bid.
And those are the new standards, and they're all, actually, I think every one of those pretty much is a refined proprietary technique that we've been able to deploy. We have strong processes around, strong analyses around, to be able to deploy it the right way outside of other things that we mentioned today. But those are really the 4 basics that almost permeate every single campaign that we launch, and they are so different from the standards in the marketplace. So wonderful.
So next, with a client like this, we start to notice in the search query reports that the search intent was actually very different amongst the different types of search queries we would see, and we noticed eventually that it was the difference between the average consumer and the contractor. And both of these people had a need to buy products from this garage door opener site, but both had different purchasing behaviors and different browsing behaviors. So while the average consumer needs to do research first, their purchasing cycle is longer. So we need to introduce remarketing lists for shopping ads, we need to adjust the bids accordingly, whereas a contractor is going to maybe just plug in the part number that they need for the garage door that they're installing that day, so they can get it and just pop it right in. So they don't need to do the research. We realized quickly that we needed to treat these queries and these people differently. Awesome,
and we've talked about this, and this was a defining edge, being able to tear through analytics and put together theories that explain the analytics, working with the client to verify that this made sense, and then taking it further into action that turned out to be profitable. This was the tipping point for this particular account, and we're going to look at the performance later and show what that did for them.
Yeah, it's unreal. And here again, we have the remarketing list for shopping ads. So we talked about it in the lens of the consumer versus the professional versus the contractor. So for the consumers, they're doing their research, they visited the site, they haven't converted yet. We know that they're a high value visitor. We can bid higher on them. So the next time they go to do that search, they're making that decision on where to buy the product, we bring them right into this garage door website. But then we have the contractors who have purchased before. So we can identify them, and the next time they're looking for another product, for another install, we make sure, we know that they trust this client, and we make sure we have our ads front and center for them. So again, we're using both the buying cycle, the elongated buying cycle, and trying to shorten that, and then we're also pulling the lever for lifetime value for past buyers.
Awesome. All right. So spending more is an interesting concept, because we talk about building an account and then trimming the account. When we define build, we're saying we are finding an opportunity to spend more money. Well, if we are spending more money on past visitors to show up more aggressively, that's a pretty good use of spending more money. So while sometimes when people say spending more money is just increasing bids or increasing budgets, what is a smart way of spending more money is finding new avenues to expend budget where strategically it makes sense. It's closing a gap in our process, or connecting loops together, or allowing us to target people that we were otherwise not targeting.
Completely agree. And in this case too, we had to develop our mobile strategy, because they have, a bunch of different mobile queries, and the behavior is definitely different. Like we talked about, I mean, for most stores, it is different from desktop. So we understood that contractors who have an immediate need for a product are probably doing the search on mobile. And then, maybe consumers who are also seeking replacement parts, they're out in their garage, they're looking at the part number, they're typing it in. Those are the type of queries that we wanted to capitalize on mobile, which are very different from maybe some of the more research-based queries when you're in your office at home on a Saturday afternoon trying to figure out which brand of garage door opener you want to buy for your house.
Awesome. And this just emphasizes exactly what we were talking about before. The users, the use cases, the user experience is different. Instead of seeing behavior of PC mobile as the same, leverage those differences. You can only leverage those differences if you create separate campaigns or an infrastructure that allows you to glean those differences carefully. And for this client, you can see something that very much illuminates the impact of our management. You can see our management fee has always been one of the smallest parts of the overall cost. But by introducing us into the mix, by taking a risk to go from a very low all products bid at $100 to trusting us to build the account over the course of 2 years to now spending 100 times that, it helped increase profit 6x. Another $50,000 in profit each month. That's growth in profit, a bottom line of $500,000. $600,000. There we go. I knew the math was wrong on that.
Yeah, and something to note here is that the return on ad spend is actually higher in January of 2014, but return on ad spend is one of those ghost metrics. It's not something that you can always rely on to tell you how accurately or how profitably you're performing. We can see in January of 2015, profit is much higher, but the return on ad spend is slightly lower.
Awesome. So we summarize once again, as an industry, we've moved past single PLA campaigns, but not from one size fits all. Across what we've seen in terms of management, quote unquote management of Google Shopping, it's very basic tactics of segmentation or search query. It's a single phase typically, where they apply a few different techniques and then they settle into dormancy because there's nothing left to do. There's not an evolution of technique. There are not multiple phases of growth, and that's bad news. That is sometimes stagnation or plateauing. Sometimes it's decaying profitability. You need to invest in customized strategies that constantly evolve, that have not one or two phases. In some cases, our clients are on phase 15 or 20 of their account, and we still have more to go. You need to continue to evolve and plan projects and evolutionary next steps for your account. That's what Google Shopping requires at this point. We did have a pretty good Q&A session after. So whenever you get a chance to watch the live versions, come with questions. And I'm sure as you're watching this, you came up with questions yourself. We'd be able to answer those in real time. But you can also just send those questions to us at sales@exclusiveconcepts.com when we are going through your account and giving you our insights on what you're doing well or what kind of evolution we can achieve for your business through Google Shopping. Bring those questions as well. So once again, Mr. Logan Durant, thank you for co-presenting. Congratulations on your team and all the hard work you guys have done and the performance you guys have achieved. This is Nick Rajpal, VP of Client Services once again. Thank you for joining us. And we have a lot of other on-demand webinars for you to watch. Hope you watch them and enjoy.